You sit there, flush with your recent capitalization, looking at the enterprise you believe you have built. By all external metrics, you are succeeding. Yet I see the tension in your shoulders. You feel the friction, do you not? You notice the people you brought into the fold, your early associates, are beginning to question your strategic direction openly. You realize that the technicians, the individuals who possess the intimate knowledge of your core infrastructure, are subtly dictating the pace of your own product, effectively holding your roadmap hostage. Or perhaps you sit at the head of the long table during a board meeting, and you suddenly realize the capital providers are the ones steering the vessel. You are no longer the master of the house. You are merely a passenger in a vehicle you constructed. This is the moment you realize you have lost control. You find yourself in this position of powerlessness because you have consumed a modern fiction. It is the vulgar illusion of the egalitarian workplace. You have been conditioned by a soft culture to believe that a successful endeavor requires a completely flat hierarchy. You have been told that you must treat your associates like a family. You dispense equity as if it were charity, and you champion radical transparency. You operate under the incredibly naive assumption that if you are an accommodating leader, your employees will automatically reward you with absolute dedication. You were tricked into believing that the study of power, authority, and corporate politics are distasteful pursuits, matters that you only need to concern yourself with when you become a massive corporation. That belief is a ruinous liability. Listen to me carefully. The fundamental, undeniable logic of any enduring commercial enterprise is the pursuit of leverage, the exertion of influence, and the absolute control of scarce resources. The first truth you must accept is the law of the power vacuum. Power never, under any circumstances, if you do not actively seize, consolidate, and expand your authority at the top, someone else inevitably will. If you drop the reins of control, your subordinates, your co-founders, or your financial backers will behave like opportunistic parasites. They will quietly carve up the authority that you so carelessly left unguarded. The second truth is the terrifying cost of hesitation. There is a massive compounding penalty for arriving late to the realization of power dynamics. The longer you wait to study and apply the laws of leverage, the more expensive it becomes to restructure the rules of the game. Early in your company life, asserting dominance might cost you a mildly uncomfortable conversation. Later on, if you do not establish absolute sovereignty, the problem you face will not be a simple employee resignation. You will face a systematic rebellion, a fractured executive team, and the potential loss of your entire equity position. A founder who refuses to master the mechanics of power will inevitably become the highest paid hostage within the very machine they built. How do you rectify this? You must cease being a participant and become the sovereign. This requires precision, total emotional detachment, and zero hesitation. From this exact moment forward, you must construct an insurmountable hierarchy of decision-making. Hear this clearly. You are not their friend, you are not their peer, and you are not their friend, and you are not their therapist. You are the architect of the rules and the ultimate judge of the system. You must immediately stop seeking emotional validation or democratic approval from your team. Replace soft consensus, building with absolute, unquestionable executive directives. You must maintain a deliberate psychological distance that commands respect. Familiarity breeds entitlement. Strategic distance breeds authority. When you speak, it must be the final word, not the beginning of a negotiation. Furthermore, recognize that your resources are instruments of control. Financial compensation, equity grants, promotion pathways, and access to core business data are not universal rights within your organization. They are the most potent tools of leverage you possess, and you must weaponize them. You must design mechanisms of distribution that create absolute dependence on your favor. Ensure that the flow of all critical benefits ultimately requires your personal authorization. You must also practice information asymmetry. Do not share every strategic detail to appease the modern demand for transparency. Information is the currency of power. Dispense it only when it serves your tactical objectives, and withhold it entirely when it does not. As your holdings grow, you will inevitably encounter individuals who attempt to use their specialized skills, their institutional knowledge, or their historical contributions as leverage against you. They will threaten to leave, or they will slow down production to remind you of their importance. When an individual attempts to hold the sovereign hostage, you must initiate an immediate and highly visible purge. In the vocabulary of a true leader, there is no such thing as an indispensable employee. You must build your operations in modular components, ensuring that no single individual ever holds the power to cripple the system. When a threat emerges from within, you do not negotiate with it, and you do not try to rehabilitate it. You excise it immediately, cut the cord, absorb the temporary operational shock, and move forward. Your absolute authority is worth infinitely more than any single talented individual. This mastery of power extends far beyond the immediate survival of your current firm. It is the very bedrock of our legacy and generational wealth. Consider the natural order of society. The laborer U.S. child is programmed early to acquire physical skills and follow instructions. The merchant U.S. child learns the raw mechanics of the trade before they can even read. What then must the child of a founder learn? If you wish to ensure the endurance of your empire, you must cultivate an understanding of power dynamics, leverage, and authority in your children as early as possible. Teach them the mechanics of rule, because if you fail to train them as sovereigns, the world will inevitably condition them to be subjects. In this unforgiving arena, true power is never voluntarily granted to you by others. It is never a gift. It is something you must systematically architect, ruthlessly seize, and aggressively defend. Every single day that you delay learning the mechanics of power is another day your empire remains vulnerable to subversion from within. I will leave you with one final thought. Look closely at your capitalization table. Look deeply into the dynamics of your boardroom and assess the true allegiance of your management team. Ask yourself this brutally honest question. Are you the absolute sovereign of the empire you built, or are you simply the highest paid hostage trapped inside of it?